last time. Welcome to the Idiot's Guide to Horror.
Counteracting the toxic culture surrounding horror fandom and breaking down your favorite horror movies.
With you as always, your hosts, Kara and Natalia Popovich.
And Christopher Svetlana Haberman. So everybody turn off the lights, grab your drills, torches, chainsaws, and let's get ready to dissect.
Hostel 2005, directed by boyfriend of the pod, Eli Roth.
Remember his cameo in this? I wanted to punch him right in the mouth.
Yeah, I mean, most of his cameos, but...
Did you see what he put on Instagram today?
No, I didn't.
He said, wanted to it was really funny, because our podcast follows Eli Roth, and if you're not, well, you're missing out.
On...
Nothing, really.
Yeah.
He said, today marks 25th anniversary of me saving the Jurassic franchise with my appearance on Guy and Subway and Lost World. You're welcome.
He was an extra in a lot of movies. We're not going to turn this into an Eli Roth pod episode. We could. I could, personally. I know a lot off the top of my head, but we're not going to do that because,
Remember when he sold magazines in Death Proof?
I do remember that. He's only, we're only so thirsty. We can only allow ourselves so much thirst.
Well, why is he so good looking?
I don't know. I don't know who decided to do this to us. God? But anyway, you can watch Hostel, which was the scariest movie of 2005, on HBO Max, Stars, Pluto, and Tubi.
What was Contenders?
I don't know. I just remember this being the biggest deal. Now then people stopped talking about it eventually. At the time that this came out, it was during the Iraq War, and we were seeing a lot of really scary shit on TV, and this is when the, splat pack started. The torture porn genre, started to amp up.
So,
because people,
in today's social climate, you should prepare yourself again.
Yes.
For a resurgence, I would guess.
I think we had a different kind during the Trump administration. I think that we had, that's when the elevated horror boom was, right? It's, people were looking for something like a response that was more intellectual. Yes, such as Saint Maud. So, I did Back of the Box last time.
Oh, okay. I see now in the notes you actually wrote boyfriend of the pod.
Yes, I did.
Okay. Did we say we can watch it? Figure it out. You have Google. Okay. It's 2005. If you're like me, you're 16 years old, and you want to be really cool. So you're going down to ye old Family Video, which is what I had, because we didn't have Blockbuster. Did we have Blockbuster in town?
We had one on the opposite end of town, and it closed way before Family Video. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, it didn't do so well. Not so hot in the good old suburb we grew up in. Suburb?
Yeah, I would say it was a suburb.
Suburb adjacent.
Yeah. No, it's definitely a suburb.
Mm-hmm.
It was a little city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Little city.
Small town.
Yeah.
Small town's good, yeah.
And that's why everyone that grew up there is still there.
Yes. Except for us. Hi. Anyway.
Okay. So you're at Family Video, and you want to look so cool. Because I don't want to do this, but I might.
What do you want to look so cool about?
Oh, because this is, if you go to my review of the film.
Oh, you're going to just review...
I watched this because I was cool. I would watch this movie so I could talk to people about how cool I was for having seen this movie.
Same here, yeah. I watched it at a sleepover, and everybody else was, throwing up and hiding behind each other, and I was like, I'm too cool to be upset.
I was literally throwing up and hiding behind people watching this last week. And it's not that bad.
It's pretty hardcore. Yeah, we'll get to that. Anyway.
I saw Green Inferno in theaters.
I did see Green Inferno, and it is worse, but this is a different kind of...
This is a different kind.
Kind of thing.
Nope, I'm not spoiling anything.
You are not. You are doing the Back of the Box
Even though Even though I will never watch the Green Inferno ever again, I will also not spoil it for you. Okay, so you want to look cool, so you go up to the clerk, you say, what's the coolest movie you have? And he says... I don't know, Little Mermaid or something. And you say, no. So you go walk around, and you want to find something cool. So you pick up this movie. It has a case. The case, there's a pair of maybe pliers or something. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. And neither are any of these people in this movie. Even though they really wanted to be.
I do think it's like a pliers or some, I don't know. It looks like a torture device.
It's like a murder tool.
It's a murder tool. It's for murder. It's for murder.
Yeah, I spelled doctors wrong. You flip it over, and it says, best friends Josh, Derek Richardson, and Paxton J. Hernandez decide to spend the summer after college graduation in an all-out backpack trip across Europe. While stopping in Amsterdam, I put that little, I don't know, is that how you say it? Amsterdam. To indulge their taste in drugs and sex, they meet Oli.
An actor. Go on.
A like-minded traveler from Iceland. When the three bachelors set out to investigate enticing rumors of a Slovakian hostel in a city populated by lusty women, they find themselves drawn unwittingly into a deadly game.
Spoiler warning, we're going to talk about this movie in depth, up to and including the ending. So if you haven't seen it, please pause this episode and go watch it, except maybe don't if you don't like gore.
Mm-hmm. We might also spoil the beginning of Hostel 2. I'm not sure yet.
Maybe.
I'm thinking about it.
No, let's not, because we can cover it.
We can cover it for next. It's streaming on Tubi. It's put on Tubi like 2 days ago.
Yes. Okay.
And I like Hostel 2 better.
All right.
How do you feel about Hostel 2?
I love Hostel 2.
Better or worse?
I don't know. I think better, probably, but I don't know.
Who cares?
So, as far as movie facts go, I tampered myself because I could have gone on all day. But just to start, Ain't It Cool News founder Harry Knowles told Roth about a website where you pay $10,000 to go to Thailand and shoot a stranger in the head for sport. So that's how he got the idea for it. And he said that there's a quote from Eli Roth this quote from Eli Roth: "The site claimed that the person you were killing had signed up for it and that part of the money would go to their family because they were so broke and were going to die anyway. It was to give you the thrill of taking another human life." Roth didn't know that the site was real, and at one point he wanted to make a documentary about it, but decided against it, which I think does away with one of the other... Okay. My point was well, somebody thought of it. That's fucked up. Someone is thinking about this and went so far as to create a website about it.
I bet it was Quentin.
And then when he... Well, do you want to... Yeah.
Is this the Quentin? We'll figure it out. In writing the script, Roth used real-life debauchery as an inspiration. Quote, "I saw parallels between guys I knew and would go to Europe or even Vegas and go, yeah, we're going to get some hookers and do drugs. Or, we're going to go to Amsterdam, and it's kind of like this American thing of going abroad and doing all these things you're not supposed to do. That's why I made Amsterdam perfectly look like an X-rated Disneyland," which he had to apologize for. Is that in here?
Yes, it is.
Oh, okay. Never mind. Stop.
Alright, so Quentin Tarantino actually talked Eli Roth into making Hostel. After seeing Cabin Fever and loving it, Quentin Tarantino invited Eli to his house and asked what he was going to do next. And when Eli told him the idea for Hostel, Quentin Tarantino told him he had to make it independent and low budget so that he didn't have to answer to studios for the violent content. So do you think that maybe he planted this site?
Yes,
I
think the whole thing was like a Quentin Tarantino fever dream, and he just needed some chump to do it.
He was like, "Oh, I really liked Cabin Fever. Maybe this fucking guy will do it."
It was either him or Robert Rodriguez, you know?
Yeah, those are that's the ammo in his arsenal for sure.
Right.
But
I can't think of a third one, but I give me a minute, and I will. I'll come back to that. Quickly, I'll go over this one. Eli Roth wanted to make a documentary on the subject of murder vacation. However, he was doing research. He found it impossible to get in contact with anybody involved in such a business, and that he could put himself in danger for asking around. He decided to use the subject for fiction instead.
Imagine Eli Roth, the documentarian. Also, why would you think that you could ever make a documentary about that without getting murdered? Like
Quentin Tarantino's like, "Oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine."
So over 150 gallons of blood were used in the making of the film, which is nearly 3 times the amount used on Cabin Fever, which was Eli Roth's first film.
Remember the skin peeling scene? Okay, if you go on our YouTube, our Cabin Fever video has 3,000 views.
No, that's our Cabin in the Woods video.
Somebody go watch fucking Cabin Fever.
That's the one where I got mad because I don't think that the shave scene is that bad. So if you want to hear me go on a rant about how you're wrong to be throwing up at that leg shaving scene when there's way worse in that film.
Yeah, way worse. This is way worse. Like the Achilles heel in this scene. In this movie.
100%. This movie is 10,000 times worse than anything you could see.
I would rather watch that one scene from Pet Cemetery over and over again.
This is just the Achilles heel scene over and over again.
Than
Pet
any
Sematary.
part of this movie.
Spoiler alert for Pet Cemetery. There's an Achilles heel scene.
But we won't tell you who it was.
No, we won't. Anyway, you want to do the last one?
Roth had to apologize to appease 2 different countries, Iceland and Slovakia, who were both poorly represented in the film. And I'll say.
Yeah, he actually in advance asked for a pardon from Iceland for making Oli just look like a sex crazed maniac.
I loved Oli though.
I know.
He's the only one I liked.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you're supposed to like any of them. I've watched a bunch of interviews with Eli Roth talking about this movie, and you're not really supposed to like any of them. And what happens is sort of like a redemption arc because, it's,
I mean, the final girl was the worst out of all the guys. The one who dies first was the most relatable.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's me. And I'm like, oh, never mind.
All right, so.
And I use the word final girl interchangeably because in this movie there's no final girl.
There is no, yeah. So, just a warning before we dive into Hostel. I think that probably this is going to be the most description of violence we have ever done.
Until next week when we do Hostel Part 2.
That's true. But would you agree that this is going to be the most violent movie that we have covered so far?
Did we do Inside?
No.
Do you want to?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Eventually.
We did Martyrs.
We did do Martyrs, but I still feel that this is
This is balls to the wall.
Yeah, this is the whole point of this movie is gore.
Mm-hmm. This is torture porn.
Yes.
It's the height of torture porn.
It was the birth of torture porn.
Torture. Oh no, we have to apologize to Sweden.
It was the birth of torture porn. Oh my god!
It was the birth of torture porn.
Fuck. Okay. Alright, so without further ado, so the beginning of Hostel, kind of so it's sandwiched. He made sure to sandwich you in between the two vibes, right? Because it starts off with just that guy whistling and you just see him washing off tools and see blood going down a drain. But then
you forget about that for the next 30 solid minutes, 33 minutes of,
if not more than that.
I don't remember. I did timestamp it in my brain and then I was like, okay. But it starts off with the most important part of this movie, and it starts off Quentin Tarantino presents.
Yes, but he presented it. He didn't produce it.
No.
He didn't. He just...
What the fuck?
He just put his name on it.
Why did my screen dim?
I don't know.
That was really weird. Someone's going, rude. Hey, MacBook.
Stop it.
Stacy?
Stacy?
Can you get me a new MacBook? I went to trade this one in for a new one, because they came out with new ones this year. They offered me $400 for this. It's 3 years old. And I paid $1,800 for it.
That good. Yeah, no, that's terrible.
And by 3 years old, I mean 4 years old or 5.
Anyway, all right,
and
so...
half the ports are broken, so that's why we're only using that side of the ports, because all the ports on the side are dead.
Okay.
So now that you know too much about my computer,
we are meeting some people. So we're meeting college students. Their names are Paxton and Josh, and they are having a grand old time in Amsterdam.
Too much fun.
So it's Josh that wants to go to a museum, right?
Yeah.
Josh
and I'm
wants
like, yes, museum.
Yes.
I would kill for...
So, yeah, they want to go to a museum. They go to a hash bar instead.
And we see our favorite...
Eli Roth is there.
Eli Roth is there.
He's there.
Trying to do a Tarantino.
Yeah. So basically, we could just skip a lot because, so much of this is just, the first half of this movie is just these dudes.
And F-slurs.
And, dropping F-slur bombs on each other.
I mean, there were only 3. And I know that it was 2005, but it's not something I can just gloss over.
No, we can't gloss over it. It's messed up. It is not okay. Eli Roth, take it back. I know that this is how men talked to each other back then, but...
Yeah, and we all have fanny packs now. God. You don't think I wear a fanny pack every time I go outside?
I have a fanny pack. I do. But yeah, Josh gets made fun of for having a fanny pack. So really, the first 45 minutes of this movie, what you need to know is that these men are just endlessly horny. And
especially Oli and Josh, Oli
Right.
and Paxton.
Right. Paxton and Josh have met up with a like-minded fellow backpacker named Oli, and he is also very horny. And so much of this is just them, like, going to different clubs and trying to have sex. We really don't need to go into much more detail than that. That's it.
Eventually, they get kicked out of their hostel, or they get back. Let's just skip ahead like 45 minutes.
Yeah, for real.
So they get back to their hostel in Amsterdam too late, because there's a curfew in Amsterdam, apparently. And they're locked out, so Quentin Tarantino starts screaming out of a window. And they climb up the wall, and they meet their new best friend, Alex. But his name was Alexi, and that's why I wrote it down like. And he has two roommates who are like very under the influence and just like doing slow-mo sex.
Yes.
Because if you don't know, like if you're not going to watch this movie, like the first half of this movie is like a softcore porn.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like, so he did this on purpose. The first half is a sex comedy, and then it just like descends into violence really fast.
Abruptly.
Yeah.
Like in my notes, in my like review, like if you didn't know from that first scene what this movie was going to be, there's like half this movie is not horror. So like if you just want to watch something fun, you can just watch the first half of this movie and call it a day. But yeah, so Alexi tells them there is this hostel in Bratislava that they have to go to. The women are so hot, and he shows them pictures, lots of boobs. And so they're like, okay, let's go to Bratislava.
Right.
They board a train, and there's a man eating with his fingers a salad. We learn that Oli has a 6-year-old child, and whenever the salad fingers, if you will.
It's salad fingers, yes, yeah.
Asked where they're going, and they say Bratislava, he goes, oh, yeah, I can't do an accent. But the women are like, whatever. And then he grabs Josh's leg in like a sexual, maybe not sexual.
A friendly way.
Too high in the thigh.
Yes, and Josh kind of freaks out, and the guy, like, gets really embarrassed and, like, hurries out of the compartment. So they get to Slovakia, and they go to the hostel.
And Pulp Fiction is playing on the TV.
Quentin Tarantino presents, y'all.
And don't you forget it's on every single poster.
They check into the hostel that Alexi told them to go to, and they meet their roommates, which are two very attractive young women, Svetlana and Natalia, who invite them to go to a spa and then to a quote-unquote disco, or just another club.
I love that like other countries refer to them as discos, and I wish that we did.
Yeah.
Like, do you want to go to Jellyfish? Where's that? At the disco.
At the disco, yes. I wish I had gone to Jellyfish last night, I know.
Steve's like, do you want to go? I'm like, no.
Anyway,
I'm like, I'm 40 years old.
So, yeah, they go to the spa. They go to a club. And everybody's doing drugs. So Josh goes outside because somebody's smoking and he has asthma, and that's when they meet the bubblegum gang.
Oh, I love it.
Is just also fun fact: Eli Roth just hired real kids from Slovakia to do that.
Now, do you think he paid them in bubblegum or bricks?
I think he paid them in money. I hope. Eli Roth, if you would like to reach out to confirm, my phone number is
412.
So, they are demanding that Josh give them money and bubblegum. But he gets, they are dispersed by the same Dutch businessman that, like, grabbed his leg on the train. And so Josh buys him a drink.
And we see his really cool tattoo.
Yes, which is...
I don't remember.
Will be important later.
Yeah. More so in the sequel.
So...
Let's do the sequel.
Yeah.
Do you think that we would alien our fans, both of you, by doing a second Hostel movie? Since it's like a niche subgenre of horror.
We'll find out.
We will find out.
Anyway.
Happy Pride, y'all.
So Josh and Paxton sleep with Svetlana and Natalia. And Oli...
In the same room.
Yeah, Oli has sex with a girl that works the desk at the hostel.
Mm-hmm.
Oli doesn't come back in the morning. They start to worry because they can't get in touch with him. And they are just like kind of going around Slovakia looking for him. Mm-hmm. And they meet a Japanese girl named Kana, whose friend Yuki has also disappeared. The last picture she has received from Yuki is a selfie of her and Oli. So...
Now, I'm trying to think, am I getting this mixed up with One Missed Call? I might be. Never mind. Remember One Missed Call? The movie?
Yes.
Didn't they get pictures on their phone of that one too?
I think so.
Or is that the remake?
It might have been the remake. I don't know. I need to rewatch.
I wouldn't rewatch the remake. The
Oh,
original
the old
one's
one, yeah.
it's pretty scary.
It is scary, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Just like the original Pulse. Very scary.
Mm-hmm. Oh my god, it's giving me chills thinking about it.
Yeah, very scary movie. So she gets a message from Yuki at the same time they get a text from Oli, and then we see, finally, this movie turns into a horror movie when we see that it's not actually a picture of Oli, it's a picture of Oli's decapitated head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's been killed by the elite hunting club. And
which you won't find out for another hour, at least.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
Real quick, there's a moment in this movie that throws me for a loop, and it's when Paxton gets really sincere with Josh about watching that girl drown as a child.
Yeah.
Came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean,
This is the only time I've ever cared for Paxton.
I'm gonna get shit for this, but Eli Roth can write a sympathetic character.
But only in small bursts, apparently, because I almost didn't care for him the entire movie.
Yeah, no, I don't think that, once again, I don't think that we're supposed to, really.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Oh, they do go to a museum, though.
They do. They go to the Museum of Torture because they think that they see Oli in there, and they chase him, and it isn't him.
Mm-hmm. But I really want to go to that museum.
Yeah.
Just so I can get my ticket taken, because it's like a little guillotine.
I know, it's so cute.
Mm-hmm.
It's cute. So Paxton convinces Josh to stay because Josh is like, this is scary. I think we should leave.
Mm-hmm.
And Paxton's like, no, we should like stay for one more night.
Mm-hmm.
And they go to a party with Svetlana and Natalia, and they both get drugged. And Paxton makes his way into a closet on accident while looking for a bathroom. And Josh wakes up, and the movie begins. Hostel begins.
Yeah, we are now 1 hour into this movie.
Yes.
And, because I wrote down 1 hour, but
yeah.
Who knows if that's true. I wonder why my screen keeps dimming.
Just leave it.
We are still recording.
So...
23 minutes in. We're recording. Awesome.
Yeah.
So, okay. So, Paxton is asleep in a closet somewhere. Josh went back to the hostel. Hotel. Can you imagine who was called Hotel?
Hotel.
Hotel Transylvania. This is the original.
So yeah, he wakes up in this like in a room that's like dim and crusty, and there's a bunch of surgical tools, like rusty surgical tools, all over the place.
Because they paid all this money, but they don't care for cleanliness because you're not going to survive.
Right. Yeah. So he's chained to a chair. And a man wearing a surgeon's mask and an orange jumpsuit enters, and he starts torturing Josh.
It is the guy from the train. It is that fun Dutch businessman.
Yes.
He has always wanted to be a surgeon, but, shaky hands.
So he starts drilling into Josh's legs. Same place he touched him.
Oh, wow, I didn't put that together.
Yeah. He was denied this due to he wanted to be a surgeon, but he was never able to become a surgeon because of his tremors.
Sorry, I was reading ahead of my notes.
So Josh begs to get out, and, you know, says, like, I'll do anything, you know, I won't tell anyone, the usual stuff. I just want to point out how realistic this scene seems to me.
Every scene in this movie is too realistic. The vomit gets to me.
That part is almost... You know, usually vomit in movies... We'll get to that part. Okay, we'll discuss that when we get there.
Give it a minute.
Yeah.
So, Dutch businessman goes ahead and Nope. First, what Dutch businessman does is he...
Do you want me to...
Yeah, you want to?
So, he cuts Josh's Achilles tendons and then uncuffs him so that he can try and leave. And then he tries to stand. Josh tries to stand. And the Achilles tendons just rip.
Oh, God.
Completely.
Fuck me right in the mouth.
So he crawls to the door, and the man grabs him from behind and just slits his throat.
Yeah.
Right open.
At least he didn't have too much to suffer.
Yeah. R.I.P.
Like Yuki.
Yeah, R.I.P.
Toes cut off.
Yeah, for real though, dude. So Paxton, meanwhile, gets back to the hostel after, like, locking himself in a closet all night by accident, which, you know, saved his life that night. He can't find Josh, and the clerk tells him that Josh is already checked out. So he goes back to his room, and there are two new women there, and they are propositioning him in the exact same way that Svetlana and Natalia propositioned him.
Okay, so here's what I want to know. Were they just standing there waiting for the door to open to start moving?
Yes.
Like the toys in Toy Story?
Pretty much, yeah.
Because, like, it was the exact same transition.
Yeah.
Also, no, it doesn't matter.
Or, like, the people at that desk, like, called up, like, he's coming up.
Maybe they have, like, a button.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
Morse code
button. So...
He goes to the police.
Yeah, he tries to go to the police, and they don't take him seriously, because, you know, he's just an American tourist with a friend who probably, like, shacked up with a girl and just didn't come back.
So the police officer tells him to go back to the hostel and wait.
Yeah.
I think he was in on it. Well, I know that he was in on it, but you'll figure that one out eventually, whenever you see that same police officer at the fun party later.
So he goes back to the torture museum, and there's a man who looks like Oli, wearing a vest exactly like Oli's. He claims to know nothing and tells him to leave him alone. So he looks for Svetlana and Natalia and then finds them in a bar, and they look nothing like they did to him before. And I don't know if this is supposed to be symbolic or if this is, like, actually, like, they just got run down after one night. But, you know, they were, like, these, you know, like, fresh-faced women, and now they just look, like, tired and, like, drained and, like, yeah.
I hate Svetlana.
Oh, yeah. Terrible.
Like, I hate both of them, but Svetlana is, like, the worst.
Yeah.
Right?
So...
She's a brunette?
Yes. So he demands... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no. So, he says, where is Josh? You know? And they're like, oh, he's with Oli, or whatever. And so he says, take me to them. And they're like, he went to an art show. And he's like, I fucking love art. Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's go.
Yeah.
So, not Svetlana. What was her name?
Natalia.
Natalia decides to stay behind, and Svetlana and some other man go to this art museum, for lack of a better word, and it should be noted that the driver hands Natalia a large bag of bubble gum, which is not important now, but will become plot important later.
Right.
So they get there, and it's an old rundown factory. The driver gets out and talks to some other, like, there's people outside just hanging out.
Right.
Svetlana tells him to go inside. And before he does, Paxton asks a man walking out, you know, how is it? Like, how is it in there? And the guy says, be careful. You go out spending all your money in there.
Right. And before he goes in, also, Svetlana said, oh, no, wait, Natalia. It's Natalia that's the...
I hate Natalia.
Yeah, Natalia is the one that, you know, No, Svetlana is the one that, you know, he's going in, and Svetlana says, I've already seen this show. And she's not going to go in. And so they go in, and he sees, like, after walking down a hallway for a while, he starts to see what's really going on, and then he sees the Dutch businessman performing surgery on Josh's corpse. And
getting his money's worth.
Yeah. And Natalia just is, like, laughing at him, and she says that she's got a lot of money for him, and he says, like, I guess that makes you my bitch.
Mm-hmm.
So he is dragged away to a cell, and while he is being dragged down the hallway, you know, we're going past the rooms and seeing, like, that terrible shit is just happening in these cells. So
he gets cuffed to a chair, gets the lights out, and they leave.
Yes.
We get a new butcher, which in my notes I have been calling the Dutch businessman a butcher.
Yeah. So this is Johan.
I don't even know he had a name.
Yeah, it's Johan.
So Johan is the man for Paxton. He, you know, goes at him with some scissors, cuts a lock of his hair off, you know, for sentimental reasons, I guess. It's never discussed. He gets some tools and starts stabbing holes in Paxton's chest. So Paxton starts pleading to this man in German, because if you didn't know, Paxton
speaks German.
Paxton speaks German, which comes in handy this one time. The man who tied him to the chair comes back in and gags him.
Right. So Paxton vomits while the gag is in, and I will say that this is the one I usually cannot stand vomit in movies. I think this is funny.
Wow.
Because it just looks so fake. It's like spurting out over the sides of the gag ball. It looks
what Paula Abdul would call you? Cold-hearted.
It's okay. It looks like in Monty Python and the Holy Grail when they cut off like it's just like spurting out of the sides in these like little spurts. And
at least it's not pea soup.
That's true. Yes.
It is like vomit biomaterial.
Yes. So the guy doesn't want Paxton to die that way because, like, you know, he wants to torture him.
Mm-hmm.
So he goes to remove the gag and, like, just throws it on the floor. And then he goes to attack Paxton with a chainsaw, and he misses, and he cuts off
his lucky fingers.
Yeah, his 2 fingers. His lucky fingers.
I think I gave this movie... Oh, I'll tell you later.
So... he also saws through the handcuffs, too. So on the next swing, Johan accidentally, like a fucking just joke, steps on the ball gag and falls.
Mm-hmm.
And he
This
cuts
movie's
off
full
his
of
own.
Jokes.
It is. It's like you can hear Benny Hill in the background of this scene as he cuts off his own leg with a chainsaw by accident.
My favorite joke is coming up whenever like they're going to the fire.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get there.
So Paxton gets out, because he's out of the handcuffs, he grabs a gun and shoots Johan in the head before any guards can find out what's going on. So he imitates Johan and he calls for the guard in German before killing him as well, and then getting the fuck out of the room.
He grabs 2 fingers and a helmet and gets right out of it.
He takes his severed fingers with him.
Wouldn't you?
And he goes to another room and hides on a cart full of corpses, which I think is that part freaks me out.
It was heartbreaking to me.
I do not like it. It makes me uncomfortable because Josh's corpse is there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so was Yuki's, but nobody ever seems to talk about Yuki.
That's true. So they're taking the bodies to be incinerated, and in the butcher room, there's a guy like dismembering the corpses to be like, you know, properly cremated. Paxton accidentally drops his severed fingers. This movie is so ridiculous.
Yeah, he drops his severed fingers. And so now he's trying to pick him back up, and look, there's Ollie. You know, there's Ollie's severed head.
So the butcher burns his severed fingers that he had rescued from this room. So there was not even any point to him taking the severed fingers with him. So he takes a chance to like crawl off of the cart so that he can attack this guy, and he does that. Kills the man
with a mallet.
And then he gets to the upper levels and gets to the dressing room and dresses himself with like clothes that he found in the dressing room. And it is genius. He gets out of this pretty well.
Really smart.
Yeah, he puts on leather gloves too to hide the fact that he's missing his fingers.
Sans fingers.
So there's a guy in there. There's an American guy in there that he's a lawyer.
He is an American.
Yeah, you
can tell.
Yeah, he's a lawyer, and he was what a rush, and all that shit.
I hate him. And he wants to see his tattoo because they all have the same elite hunter tattoo, which we find a business card here.
Yeah.
Of the elite hunters, and on the back there's figures I didn't write down. But he's been this guy's talking non-stop. He's been everywhere. It's going to be such a rush. He says, what kind did you get? And he goes, oh, an American. He goes, 50 grand for an American. He asked Paxton how he should do it. Should he make it quick or make him suffer? And Paxton says, make it quick.
Mm-hmm.
And no. So this guy takes that gun and he throws it into the hamper of soiled rags.
Yes.
And by soiled, I mean blood covered.
Yeah.
So Paxton has a gun now. Good.
Right. So he almost gets outside the factory, he almost escapes, but then he hears a woman screaming, and he decides to run back in to try and help.
I would have too. I'd like to think I would have.
So he finds, this is the one.
This is rough.
I still to this day cannot, I watched this part one time and never again.
I had to watch it again this morning, watching that documentary.
Oh, really? They showed in the found footage documentary?
This found footage documentary, because the man who directed Cannibal Holocaust was in it, talking forever. Did not apologize, by the way. I want that apology still.
Yeah.
But he didn't. And they showed the scene coming up in its entirety.
Huh.
And after they showed the Cannibal Holocaust scene with the turtle that I did not know was coming. So if you're going to watch the found footage phenomenon on Shudder, be warned, because there's no warning for animal cruelty. Because my copy of Cannibal Holocaust has the no animals were harmed in this cut of the movie, even though they were.
Yeah.
I don't have to see it. But they showed it in the documentary, and I was very upset by it. I'm still upset 7 hours later.
Right. Yeah.
But they did show the scene with Kana's eye.
Ugh.
in its entirety.
Well, what we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
It's okay. I did want to know about this documentary. Thank you for letting me know, because I was going to watch it, but...
it's not really that good.
Okay, good to know.
I mean, it starts with the Blair Witch... it starts with not the Blair Witch Project, but, that started the boom, and then it just goes through, every new technology is not cyclical, horror movies. Is hub and spoke, because it just comes with new technology. I know. I've seen every single one of them.
Yeah.
Except for the one I put on my watch list this morning. Thank you.
So what's going on is that Kana is being tortured by the American client that he was talking to in the dressing room with a blowtorch.
God.
So the American recognizes him immediately, and he still thinks that Paxton is the same
one of
as
the bros.
him. Yeah. And says hey, get your own room, and then Paxton shoots him, and then Kana's eye is just dangling out of the socket. And so Paxton cuts it off.
I don't know if that's the thing I would do. I can't see how that'd be beneficial to anybody.
It's just
But I'm not a doctor.
There's a weird thing that comes out of it too. It's an ooze. It's a yellow ooze.
Oh, cool! I'm gonna faint.
Are you okay?
Oh, I'm great. I watched this, just this morning.
So, Kana and Paxton, they get out and they run away to a train station.
Here's what I have a problem with, though. Paxton, gloves, new clothes, Kana's bleeding down the fucking face.
Yeah. Right. I know. So they're being tailed by the elite hunting club. They are driving through the streets and they run down. They see Natalia, Svetlana, and Alexei, and they just run them the fuck over.
But Natalia doesn't die.
She does not.
She does in a second.
Yeah.
Because the chase car gets her right in the head.
Yeah. So, and then Paxton finds the bubblegum gang and bribes them with that huge sack of bubblegum to kill the elite hunting club. God, I'm doing such a bad job at talking today. And so they do.
Yeah,
at the station.
With bricks in the head.
Yeah, at the station, the police like see like Kana and Paxton, and the police might be in on this because they start to close in on them.
But we did see the police officer who Paxton went to was at the Elite Hunting Club.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh, I'm 90% sure that was him.
Okay.
We saw him there, outside talking to the other guys.
I believe you'll rewatch that part. So, Kana, while this is happening...
I don't like this part.
It makes me really sad. She catches a glimpse of herself in a reflection, and she sees how fucked up her face is, and she throws herself in front of the train. And she dies.
This is my favorite part of the movie coming up, though.
So Paxton getting on...
Because for some reason, all of the gore bothered me in this movie until right now when it's justified.
Yes.
It's like in Revenge, you know?
Yes.
That movie did not bother me whatsoever. I'll watch it anytime, any day. Because they all deserved it.
Right, exactly.
This is deserved.
Yes.
So, Paxton gets on this train. He now has a scalpel. Don't know where it came from, but doesn't matter. We probably knew it, but I wasn't paying attention.
I think that he just slipped it in his pocket when he was in there. Yeah.
I didn't look away a lot in this movie, but I did sometimes. He's on the train. He hears Salad Man talking. Salad Fingers, remember? He likes the feeling of rust against his salad fingers. He gets off the train. Paxton follows him into the men's room. He cuts off his fingers with the scalpel, pushes his head in the toilet, and then slits his throat. And
then Paxton gets back on the train.
With no passport, but hey, we'll get to that, one of the things I didn't like.
So there is an alternate ending.
I didn't see it.
So, it's in the director's cut. Instead of following the Dutch businessman into the restroom and killing him, Paxton kidnaps the Dutch businessman's beloved daughter. As he finds the girl's teddy bear in the stall she was supposed to be in, he searches for her, unaware that Paxton's train has left. So he took the daughter, basically, just being like, you don't deserve this.
Why would Paxton? That doesn't fit Paxton's character in my brain.
Well, I think that it rounds out the redemption arc of Paxton a little bit more than this does. So
I would spoil the beginning of the second movie, but I won't now if we're going to cover it.
So we have a lot of reviews on Letterboxd Beat Street this week.
Almost too many.
Yeah. I'll do mine first, and then you can do yours, because I feel like I always make you do yours first. So I have two. One that I actually think aligns with my beliefs and views on this movie, and another that I just think is funny. So the first one is Felipe Furtado, who gave it 4 stars and said, Eli Roth blood and guts comedy of powerlessness and retribution. It is not a horror thriller. It literally doesn't try to build tension once. Just one extra sick joke. Perverse as vile as it gets, and for better and proudly worse, one of the essential American films of its era. And then from Hosea Morgan, 4 stars, and just said, my uncle recommended this to me when I was 8.
Wow. Could you imagine?
No.
No, because I wasn't 8 when this came out.
No, we were
16.
a little... I was going to say we were a little older. I was 15 years old. Yeah.
Well, I picked... Okay, so I have 3 reviews this week. One of them does not apply, but I'm reading it regardless because that's what you pay for here at Idiot's Guide to Horror. So my first review, 3.5 stars from the #1 Gizmo fan, and this was taken from the Green Inferno's review page on Letterboxd. Is Eli Roth a good director? No. Would I die for him in all of his films? Absolutely. That's just because, it fit. Then my second review is from Parker, who gave it 2 stars. The biggest jump scare was Quentin Tarantino, which he spelled wrong. And then my last review is Nat, who gave this 2 stars. Quentin Tarantino convinced Eli Roth to include that close-up foot shot. I just know it.
So we don't really know if this passes the Bechdel test. We're going to say no because we don't speak German. Svetlana and Natalia do talk to each other in German or whatever their language is.
I'm not sure. I put down German, but I really don't know.
Maybe Russian.
Because they were speaking German at the table whenever Paxton's like, take me to the art show.
Yeah. he knows German.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So DuVernay test, it's a big old fail.
Yeah, there's not one person of color in this movie.
Yeah, not a one except for Kana. It's not like it's not like Kana has like a bunch of agency or her own character development whatsoever.
No, she's cannon fodder.
Yeah. Idiot's Guide to Gore. Obviously this is a 5 plus some.
Mm-hmm. So we have the Chris and Kara Guide to Gore that goes above and beyond the Idiot's Guide to Gore. I gave this a 3 out of 5 on the Chris and Kara Guide to Gore.
Right.
It is grosser than most movies, but I've seen grosser.
I have also seen grosser, and I will probably see grosser in the future. It happens.
Yeah, they're just Crimes of the Future just came out.
Yeah,
and just came out.
It's not out yet, but it will be out in June, and we will be getting it at the theater. So,
and I'm sure that will be grosser.
I'm sure it will be grosser. I think I don't mean to go on a tangent about David Cronenberg, so I'm just going to say this. He does one thing, but he does it very well. And he does, these people are kinky and it's kind of scary, but he does it very well.
What's that movie his son did?
Possession.
Oh yeah, that was also
Possessor. Yeah, Possessor was so good though.
Yeah, I feel bad for his son.
Alright, so...
We already covered it, they know.
The body count in this one, 20.
It's the highest one we've ever covered.
That is the highest one we've covered. I mean, since we've been doing the body count at least, but I can't think of another one where...
No.
Yeah.
Next week will be last if we do Hostel Part 2.
I think so.
I already looked it up. It's only 14.
Really?
So, yeah. Well, tune in next week to find out whatever we just said. Title, Idiot's Guide to How Scary It Was. It's not scary.
It's not very scary. I mean, I guess, the idea kind of would, I don't know, it kind of, gets in your head a little bit because,
I'm sure these people exist.
Yeah, other people are scary. People are fucking scary.
But this movie doesn't set itself out to, scare you. It's not the goal of the movie.
I think that he meant to scare us. I think that he meant to, make us, well, at least uncomfortable or disturbed.
I feel disturbed after watching it, sure.
So... We're getting our keys.
Oh, baby.
I keep forgetting to bring keys for this part.
Yeah, I have my wallet. Does that help?
Can you shake that?
Oh my god, 83 degrees tomorrow.
Ooh.
I have a cookout. So, I'm wearing this shirt tomorrow too, everybody. I'm wearing this exact same outfit tomorrow, so if you see me, mind your own business.
All right. And that is, for those of you who are listening to the audio version of this podcast, don't worry about what Chris is wearing.
Never waste your pain.
All right, so every week on Idiot's Guide to Horror, we like to imagine that we have been given the keys to remake or reboot the film that we are talking about.
Can you imagine them
rebooting? We're doing such a good job. Look at us, potting and casting.
Oh yeah. I don't think anyone would touch it. I mean, they did requel Cabin Fever, which I haven't seen. Which is a shot-for-shot remake?
I've heard it's a shot-for-shot remake, but somehow bad.
I heard that also.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I've been hearing about it for a long time.
How do you fuck up a shot-for-shot remake?
Apparently you can do it.
I bet Eli Roth wasn't in it.
He was not. He didn't have anything to do with it. Yeah, we like to imagine that we have been given the keys to remake or reboot the film that we are talking about. And then we decide what we would keep in the movie because we think that it's flawless, and what we would throw away the second we had the chance because we think it is a trash. So, Chris, this week, what was flawless for you?
It was gross. I don't know, what do you want me to say? It was gross. This movie is gross. Eli Roth does gross really well. I've seen a handful of his movies. I couldn't say I've seen them all. I've seen Hostel Part 2, The Green Inferno, Cabin Fever. They've all been gross.
He did do a kids movie, which was not gross. It was gross in a different way. I think there was fart jokes and stuff like that, but it was The House with the Clock in its Walls. It was good. And he also did the Bruce Willis remake of Death Wish, which was gross and not good.
I haven't seen that. I'm going to hold off on that one, too. But the practical effects were amazing in this movie on a level is really hard to compete with.
Yeah.
You got Cannibal Holocaust.
Mm-hmm.
You have Hostel. Anything Tom Savini does?
Inside.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah.
Very realistic.
Yeah. So sorry. Let me try this again. Do you want to discuss what you would change, or should we keep discussing what we thought was flawless and then we can both...
Yeah, we can transition into...
Okay. So I agree with you that it was incredible practical effects. Eli Roth is also a slut for practical effects, and I appreciate that about him.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he helped instill in me a love of practical effects, and I think that this movie was a big part of it because, you know, if you don't feel like you're going to be sick or pass out, like, it's probably not that good.
Mm-hmm.
Probably not that tight. I think that, I know that, like, the first half of it is, like, boring almost,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that I love the way that that's set up, because you have, like, 45 minutes to hate these men,
Mm-hmm.
right? Like, you have, like, half an hour to 45 minutes to just fucking hate these men, and, you know, it's like, it feels like a sex comedy, like, it's like an American Pie, or, like, Sex Drive, or Euro Trip.
Seen
American Pie.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got to do it
For
at
my
least
birthday,
once.
I said we have to do all these horrible comedies.
Yes,
Like,
American Pie is garbage, but I love it. It's my garbage. Don't touch it.
For my birthday, we're watching American Pie. We're watching 10 Things I Hate About You. We're watching Clueless. We're watching, like...
He's never seen Clueless?
No.
Oh my god.
Because I was talking about 10 Things I Hate About You last night, because I'm whelmed, you know? Like, I know you can be overwhelmed, and I know you can be underwhelmed. Can you ever just be whelmed?
Yeah.
And
I
he's
think
like-
you can in Europe.
Yeah, he's like... I'm like, okay, for my birthday, we're watching all these movies.
Yes.
In a row, 5 of them. I'm picking 5.
Okay.
So we'll see if we can keep up.
Yeah, I
We were
like...
watching How I Met Your... Sorry.
What was that?
We were watching How I Met Your Mother, and I said, you know, she gets so upset now because people keep coming up to her and saying about the flute thing. She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. I said, from American Pie. He goes, I've never seen it. And I said, oh my god, I think I have them on DVD. Let's watch them right now. And he said, no, they're too long.
They are not long.
And then last night I said, what do you want to do? And he's like, let's just go watch Big Brother. I said, why don't we watch that Mortal Kombat movie you bought? We never get a chance to watch it. He goes, I don't want to watch a movie. And I said, I'm going to put on Casino, so you pick which one we're doing. Because I've been trying to watch Casino for 3 days now, and I don't have 3 hours to sit...
Casino!
So you pick what we're doing. Either we're watching a 90-minute Mortal Kombat movie, or I'm watching Casino for 3 straight hours, buddy.
I don't feel like watching a movie and you're like, oh, don't you? Let's watch a lot of movie.
I don't, like, do you know what I do for fun? I just put on a movie and watch it.
That's same here.
And then
yeah,
when it's
I don't
over,
understand.
I put on another one.
When people are like, I don't feel like watching a movie, I'm like, man, what's that like? What's that like? What does that feel like?
In 2018, everybody, I did a movie challenge where I watched 1 movie a day for 365 days. And do you know how I celebrated the day after? I watched 6 movies in a row. My favorite 6 from the list of 365. I back-to-backed all 6 of them. And that's how I celebrated watching a movie every day. So don't tell me you don't want to watch a movie, because that's what I'm doing.
All right. So.
Sorry.
It's okay. If you could change something, what would it be?
I don't understand how Paxton is traveling without a passport. It really does bother me a lot. We know that he left his passport at the desk in the hostel. How's he getting across these borders? Like, how's he going to get from Slovakia to anywhere else? Do they? I don't know.
Maybe they don't care as much over there? They definitely care, but, like, I don't know. I understand what you're saying.
Also, I'm sorry what you just said. I didn't know it was going to be a horror movie for, like, half the movie. Was the plot just weak? I'm not 100% sure. The characters were all awful. The character development was non-existent. Not like the plot was weak, and I'm sorry about that, everybody. The plot was not great. This is not what this movie was about, though. It's not a plot-heavy movie. It is a torture porn, in the truest sense of the word.
So I agree with you. In some ways, because I think that.
The second one had a plot.
The second one does have more of a plot. I think that, like, he is making a point. So here's my one problem with this movie. I think that he is making a point that these men objectify women and, like, it's wrong. And their objectification of women leads them down, you know, to their demise. But in order to do that, he portrays objectification of women in a way that very much objectifies women.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that with the second movie, he makes up for it. So,
100%.
yeah. What do you rate it? Oh, wow.
I give this movie 2.5 severed fingers out of 5.
Oh, no.
Oh my god, how many did you give it? How many severed fingers did you give this movie?
4!
Are you kidding me?
No! I love it so much.
I'm never gonna watch it again after.
I love it so much.
I cannot watch it again.
Oh, God, I love it so much.
I'm already regretting the next week movie for what happens to that, you know.
It's so upsetting, and it's still, like, it's so hard for people like us at this point to, like, get it up for something like this. You know what I mean? Like, it's, once we see something, we're like, oh, fuck, it's not that bad. But every time I watch Hostel, I'm like, my stomach, and I just love it for that. I just fucking love it for that.
Then watch that stupid movie I watched.
I will not watch it because I don't want to watch real violence.
No, that one.
Oh.
That one with that clown, Terrifier. That was gross as fuck.
Oh, no, I won't because clown.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, that's Hostel, everyone.
Oh, okay.
That's alright. Idiot's Guide to Non-Horror. So, I think I had an idea reading this from you. I think that for non-horror, maybe it would be good if we just said, like, watch Ray Liotta movies.
Yeah.
It's rest in peace to Ray Liotta. One of the greatest, one of the best.
Although I never did buy him as a 21-year-old in the beginning of Goodfellas.
No, God, no.
No.
How am I supposed to do that? Just like I'm supposed to believe Robert De Niro is 28 at the beginning of that movie?
Not in no world.
No world.
Martin Scorsese, please. I mean, the movie's flawless. I give it 5 stars.
It's fantastic. It's so good.
And then my dad said I was wrong for crying about what's his face.
No, you're not. No.
He said he was horrible. I should feel bad for Maureen and the other one.
Well, you're allowed to feel bad for whoever you want to feel bad for.
And I just so happen to feel bad for the villain, I guess.
But also, like, he was recently, I think maybe, like, the last released movie that he did was The Many Saints of Newark, which was the Sopranos movie, which was otherwise not great, but he played twins in it with 2 very different personalities, and he did an excellent job.
I shared it, as soon as I heard it, I shared it in work Slack, and my one coworker said, no, there's going to be no Happy Halloween 2 now.
Yeah, right.
And I said, that's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I know, right? Jesus. But yeah, I mean, if Hubie Halloween is your thing, I guess that too, watch that. But just, we did lose one of the greats this week. So
somebody, please pray for Joe Pesci, because I need him.
I was about to say, he's not allowed to die.
Nope.
All right. Oh.
Hey, knock it off.
You can email us questions and comments and recommendations to idiotsguidetohorror@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Instagram at idiotsguidetohorror, on Facebook at facebook.com/horroridiots. You can rate our podcast on iTunes, help other horror movie fans find us. Tell a friend. We're also, our YouTube channel, if you're not watching us on YouTube right now, our YouTube channel is Idiot's Guide to Horror. And
I'm working really hard on those covers, guys.
They're beautiful.
Thank you.
They are beautiful. So next week starts our Pride series. And be your own kind of film, bro, and
never waste your pain.
All right. Good night, everyone.